Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This to me is a lot of fun, you know, I want to have fun and I want to get to know the guys we have up here and the company and things of that nature. But I also want it to be valuable to us and to them. Literally, they were in Portland, could have gone straight to New Jersey, but Chris and the team felt like it was worth them coming to meet you guys in person, to get to speak to the folks that are remote, to understand who we are as a partner and what's driving the success at ACDI and maybe what's holding us back in certain areas that maybe we have blind spots. And so I know that being traveling abroad, and I said this at lunch to them, but when you travel, guys, you don't want to take another 3-hour flight, spend another 3 nights or 4 nights in a hotel. And they're doing that. And so I want to maximize the time we have with them, with content, with information, with who we are. I want them to spend time with you. If you have things you want to share outside of this meeting, they're coming back tomorrow. Maybe not to play ping pong since Greg was such a bully.
It's a different version of Chris.
Yeah, different version of Chris will be. Chris may join us in about 30 minutes. Chris Dance, by the way, is who we're talking about. He's had a call come up that he has to take. But before I go any further, I think I want to introduce Matt Coad. He is the head of hosted, self-hosted, and that's it. Right, not software, but just
Self-hosted.
head of self-hosted.
Yeah, man.
And then you had in NG, and then you have Keith O'Brien. He's head of cloud for PaperCut. So both of these guys come, and I'll let them kind of give their background with a lot of experience. One from the channel. He's been in our shoes before, selling and supporting not only just PaperCut, but other solutions. So he understands the reseller market. And then Keith has a background of his own that I'll let him share. And then the idea for this is for us to ask questions and us to learn about them and for them to be able to share and also learn about us. Hopefully you guys have questions for us. I don't think just because we're in the minority up here doesn't mean that we just have to field questions. By all means, find somebody that's looking you in the eye and ask them a question. Or up here, everybody has their cameras turned off. They must be multitasking.
Elmer is swimming in the Caribbean pool.
He probably is. Hey, one thing. I could probably go around the room and tell you that Paul is a carpenter or wants to be a carpenter one day. Right? And he started exercising a lot. And I can tell you that Crystal is a comedian. Jeff raises miniature cows. Alec likes to ride bikes, mountain bikes. So I kind of know a little bit about them, and our company kind of knows a lot about each other, but we don't know anything about you guys. Before you introduce yourself, your family goes out of town for a week. Okay? What do you do for that week? Where do you spend your time if you're not working?
Definitely some Xbox.
What game?
NBA 2K is
What team?
Miami.
Who's the highest rated player or team? Is Miami the highest rated team? Is that why you?
No, Boston now.
Okay.
But still, LeBron's still up there. I'm a LeBron fan. Probably a bit of Xbox, maybe barbecuing in the backyard. Just finished the outdoor kitchen in our house, so looking forward to using that. And probably at the pub, if I'm being honest.
Okay. And you notice the brand that he's wearing?
Yes.
On almost every car or call we're on together, he's wearing a car for sure.
They ordered them.
Melbourne. It's kind of like Kentucky. Everything's from Kentucky. If you talk to somebody from Kentucky.
Okay.
All right. Keith, what about you?
Yeah, very similar, I guess, but probably mainly get on the tools.
Tools?
On the tools, yeah, I like to renovate property when I'm not working and play sport. And I usually have way too much grass that needs to be cut. In Australia, it grows so fast. It's like every week, oh God, here we go again. Let's cut the grass. But that's good fun. It's good for cleaning the mind. But yeah, I love to renovate, love to get the power tools out the garage and do what needs to be done. Work through the list that I've been given.
Did you help him? Did you help him with his outdoor kitchen? No, he didn't help.
He
Okay.
got professional
That
help.
was
on
ours.
that.
He was like, I see this guy at work.
Tools.
Tools and sport.
Chris, what about you?
Well, I'm on before you asked me that question. What do you do? You're banked out for a week
What would?
and you're not working.
I like. Well,
I
I
don't
like,
happen to let you know.
yeah. I play golf too,
Yeah,
occasionally, when I get a chance.
there's no doubt I'm writing code.
You're riding code. Yeah.
Are you being Chris now?
One fun.
All right. Real quick, introduce yourself more, kind of get into who you are, and then Keith, you go next, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Kind of go from there.
So I've been at PaperCut for just under 3 years. Working as the unofficial cloud lead for almost a year, worked in product marketing, a little bit in go-to-market. I have a wife and a young boy, Xavier, who's turning 8.
Xavier.
Xavier,
Yep.
and then Bill with an X. Yeah, and it's like,
You're wait 28.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, 28. I thought you said 28.
Sorry, young.
I'm sorry, we speak slow in Arkansas. We gotta lower the IQ.
My
a
accent,
bit.
everybody was-
That's not what they said at lunch. What did our waitress say at lunch?
That was Chris. He's
All of you?
all y'all.
All you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So prior to PaperCut, I worked for Fuji Xerox for 14 years. But I started in the industry in 2008, an independent reseller that actually got acquired by Fuji Xerox in 2010. So I started off in a Ricoh, selling Ricoh and Lexmark devices. All about mixed fleet, that was our go-to-market. And then we got acquired by Fuji Xerox and the Ricoh relationship disappeared overnight. And we became a Fuji Xerox and Lexmark reseller. My job there was head of solutions. So anything software, heavy flexi capture, M files, document management, accounts payable automation, capture, e-forms, integrations, custom development, pretty much anything you can think of. I suppose my PaperCut claim to fame is I met Chris in 2008 when he had 5 staff. And I was actually the first MF reseller in the world.
I don't believe that. Really?
I'll probably tell you I wasn't, but I know I was. And I installed one of the first versions of MF.
Did you sell direct or did you sell to resellers?
Well, there was no, we sold direct.
Okay.
No ASCs then, right? This was probably pre-ASC. So been around the product for a very long time. I think I installed MF over my career over 500 times myself. And then a bit of serendipity that I ended up leaving the product many minutes later. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, in 8 days, I'm just checking the dates. In 8 days, I'll have been at PaperCut for 2 years. So I'm a newbie, relatively speaking. About 10 years ago, I decided to jump out to the corporate world. I used to work for Samsung in the UK, so really well versed in the channel operating model and the OEM environment. But I jumped out of Samsung and jumped into the startup world, where I ran a startup that we sold to the owners of Tinder in Australia for a couple of years did that. And then most recently, before coming to PaperCut, I co-founded another business that developed software that Harley Davidson used to run their dealership. So did everything inside the dealership for them. What was really interesting and quite similar about that is that what I was doing was building a cloud-based product that replaced a service. So there's a great deal of similarity between what I did over there for Harley Davidson and what we're doing here now. And that we want to make sure we've got a strategy for both server and cloud, recognizing this differences. Good fun.
I've just it's great soft spot.
Yeah, I'm running straight from Australia.
Chris, what were you doing? If you founded PaperCut in '98, you would have been 22. So
Yeah.
let's go back to
Well,
pre-98.
I used to work really hard. But once I found two good folks like this to run our products,
Yeah.
I was able to kind of sit back and let them run.
Now we know it's not Chris.
Yeah. He's writing code. He's playing people in culture manager, writing code, go to market, everything else. Okay. That's good. Good. Let's open it up. Let's open it up. See what we got.
I have a very important question to start with.
Who are you?
My name is Jeff Manson.
What
I'm
do
the
you do?
inside sales manager here. And I'm interested to hear your take on your Olympic breakdance.
She's my favorite.
Yeah.
You can do anything if you believe in yourself.
Well, she didn't believe her.
She got to the Olympics.
He
She got to
different.
the Olympics.
She the only one that could be?
She said, she goes, what? What's wrong?
But it's in the deal.
Okay. The world.
You show Greg afterwards.
Hey, Chris,
Yeah.
Chris or Greg, right?
Okay, go ahead.
I think maybe it was a strain given it didn't translate to the world stage, potentially. I don't know if she was serious or not, but figured it out actually.
quite interesting. She tried to do something different. She said that she didn't believe that she had what it took to compete with the people on a level playing field. And she thought, hey, I'm going to try something.
But was she really a breakdancer?
Yes.
So she could really breakdance, but she decided to be different.
To go with interpretive dance instead.
That's it, yeah.
She is a professor of dance, like those who can't teach.
Oh.
Oh.
There you go.
She read it in a book and was like, got it. Then tried to go.
Yeah, like how.
So-
I'm gonna have to.
So let me think about this real quick. So head of self-hosted, head of cloud. Right now, if you look year to date, let's go to the last 2 months, including this month and last month, we're above 30% subscription. It's probably 60% MFS self-hosted and 40% Hive, which would be cloud. We really, I think the future we think is either going to be a hybrid or Hive eventually. Our dealers, some of them have adopted Hive openly and are ready to run with it, and others have tried and pulled back and sell MF and MFS. Like, let's talk about innovation. Let's talk about self-hosted, and let's talk about cloud and figure out, how do we get to the days where we're selling 300 net new licenses a year or a month versus 160 or 120 or 200. Let's talk about how do we get 400 licenses a month. And if it's Hive and if it's one device, is that ever going to be something we can do, or is it always going to be the larger deals? Let's ask questions about support or installation or both, and see what we can do to sharpen their skills and maybe have them help sharpen our skills. Anybody have any questions around those two products or? Yes.
Okay, I have a list of questions, but we'll circle back. My name's Jen Slater and I'm a senior project manager. So I'm engaged in a lot of the project rollouts. So when it comes to really large, high rollouts, it can be really complex. And there are some really basic things that I'm thinking you can probably answer for us. One of them is, you can't display all of the devices, all of the printers. That you can display all the notes. There's a limited number. Is that something that's everybody would be accepting? Not. You can't sort either. You can't go into the Hive dashboard and go, let me sort by name. Let me sort by IP address. You can filter, but you can't sort. Is that something you're ever looking at fixing in the dashboard?
Oh, that's an easy, yeah. Yeah, no, we definitely are. We've got a strong, passionate design team. And they work hand in glove with the engineering team and the product team, and we build all the new features that you see coming out every month or two from us. In addition to that, they work on 5-minute fixes. This is something that, thanks Chris introduced, and he's been doing it for years. He's a master at this. But if we see things like that, it can be fixed in a 5-minute fix, but they'll tackle it. And we are rapidly running through those. I'd be more than happy to add them to the list. So,
Submit that
yeah,
as.
no need, Jan, I'll take a note of that. But I think what you're talking about is something that's really important to us as well, which is we need to. You guys, can I talk about the deal, the Canada deal?
You should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys have secured the biggest hive deal ever.
Prior to that, we had the other two, the largest deals.
So now they increase for 3 months.
Yeah.
There you go, too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying on the high deal.
Wait a minute, let me finish.
Math is math.
Like to keep score.
You're number one, too. Yes, Hive needs to scale to the source size that Rogers Wireless have bought in at 1,000 devices. Because with 1,000 devices comes a multiple of that in users. So you're going to have a lot of users, you're going to have a lot of devices, and you're going to need to manage them. And that's why we're changing the onboarding process so that it can be, we can give the admin a great deal more control and choice over how they onboard people. Because if they can onboard them the way that they want to, then that'll eliminate the need for them to search and filter, because they won't have to do the things that they're currently doing when they search and filter. So yes, we're passionately working to look at the whole onboarding experience in order to figure out how can we make it more seamless, how can we remove friction, how can we give more choice to people who are doing implementation. And we recognize that oftentimes a lot of it is pre-staged before the devices go on site. We want to give you an environment that you can use to do a lot of the work there, make it more efficient when you get on site. That's the word. So an emphatic yes.
And I deliberately did not answer that question because I did know that it's on roadmap specifically, user onboarding, simplifying that. I'm just waiting to announce that and when that's going to look like. But I have a second request. And it's this.
I do want to add for that new onboarding, that, I had that down too. Will this allow registration without a patient?
So a good example of that is, let's say a user wants to simply download the mobile app and use single sign-on to authenticate that mobile app. Well, they'll be able to submit for a job and they haven't touched an edge. But there will need to be at least one edge node on the network.
We shipped it, that's the thing, I got, I know the modern authentication stuff, someone's gonna go, and I know we've probably seen that chip, I think y'all known about it for a while, I haven't seen it. Active Directory used to always, or some kind of know that used to be the norm, and people, even if they had this using Banner or some other system, it still seems to Active Directory, definitely can tell that or tip that tipping point where more and more customers either don't even have an Active Directory or they don't manage it in a way that's conducive to a good enough implementation, doesn't have all the information they need, so we've had to do custom scripting and other things to try to like inject the aliases that we need here and there, like that, but I definitely see a need, not only for like that authentication that's on your password authentication fee, but also at the syncing level of like user syncing in. I think we're gonna see more and more, we need something besides LDAP without having to do something natively. Was there a question in there?
Yeah, so too.
I was like,
Answer your own question.
So you're talking around modern authentication requirements for customers and whether or not we're looking to move away from LDAP as a sync source potentially.
Well, I mean, I know it's gonna always be there somewhere, but we definitely see push where we need to go.
Yeah, so
And I semi native way, like you can support it to kind of roll things on and not with some kind of. It works like LDAP, but the Active Directory is. That's why, you know.
So we have obviously things like Azure or Entra, they call it now, don't use LDAP, they use native graph API to sync users. And then I think with modern authentication comes expectation of single sign-on and multi-factor authentication as well. So back in the 23 releases where, prior to 23 release, our message was if you want to use multi-factor authentication, you have to bypass it. And we knew that just wasn't good enough for customers from a security standpoint. So that work we did for Azure in 23 now extends out as a platform change that we can actually IDPs or identity platforms over time. I think we'll always be in this mode of having to sync users in somehow, because the whole core of the application is built on the users existing inside MF, and majority of the calls don't even go back to the identity provider. But full balance between standards-based integrations to identity providers like SAML-based or OpenID Connect, and then the popular ones will focus on specific integrations like we've done with Google and Azure. So I'd say even when we move to something like SAML, which we've got the roadmap, it was going to be November release, it's probably likely early 2025 now. We'll probably still have to have LDAP or something underneath to get users in, but then the way the users interact with the logins will be through the SSO provider and using their Okta login, for example, to get into the application.
Kind of in the school because they were to applications.
Good to hear that. Dan, you said you had a second question.
Second question for you. This is not a 5-minute fix.
Get ready.
In Hive, because again, on projects, so one of the issues that we often have is on the troubleshooting side. And part of multiple tickets when we do have issues. And we're trying to, often it's a network issue on the customer side, but we're trying to find that smoking gun. And it would be awesome if you guys had some sort of self-diagnostic tool that we could like give to users. You know, run this tool and again wrap up everything that we need to look at. Got anything like that or AI?
Maybe we did. Well, kind of, yes. I just wanted to say before I answer the question, I'm so glad you know about what's coming. That makes me very happy. So thank you for saying that. And second thing is I've made a note of your request for filtering printers. But that's going to get into the team. Now, diagnostics is something that's really important to it. We've got a number of things that we intend to do in order to make it easier for administrators to self-diagnose. We've got the tool inside of PaperCut. We know that whenever an issue does arise and we end up getting escalated to engineering, we can look at the mesh, we can look at the node. But that's kind of too late in the if the admins have to ask for help when something's gone wrong, we don't want them to do that. We want to provide the tools for them to troubleshoot themselves. And so there's a couple of things happening again with the latest release. We're rewriting the algorithm that routes job. I keep checking.
We're doing that all week.
We're doing it all week. Yeah, root of all evil. The routing, so the algorithm has changed. It can now scale to an infinite number of users, and it's even better architected through AI to ensure that the print job gets from the printer to the printer from the computer. And 99 times out of 100, that would be absolutely fine. On the 1% of the time when something has gone wrong, then we're going to give the administrator the ability to have the choice over how jobs get routed across their network. If they have the ability to customize that the print jobs take, that means it can be much more visible to them, which means that they'll be even better placed to troubleshoot if something does go wrong. So they'll be able to toggle nodes on or off. They'll choose a collection of nodes or a subnet or a network, and they'll be able to isolate. And through that process of isolation, start to work out really properly. So that's not the ultimate solution, but it's a step in the right direction. We'll give them control. Once they've got the control, they'll be able to know more about what's going on, because at the moment it's a black box. We're taking the lid off the black box so they can see inside, start to move some of those levers around. Then the next piece of that. Then the next thing.
Black.
Yeah. Then the next thing is going to be just making it more human readable. the journey, the print path that shops follow, making human readable, so that the admin can see potentially where there's been a failure, and then we'll, it's a more longer term. Once we identify a failure, we'll give the administrator the tools to be able to fix it themselves. Instead of us just saying, hey, go to the manual, we'll say, hey, click this button to fix it. But in the short term, the new autopilot algorithm plus the new delivery profile will give admin a lot more control, so they'll be able to self-diagnose.
And what is the roadmap?
Well, the roadmap for the print delivery path, the print delivery profile, that's August 30, along with single sign-on, the new algorithm, autopilot, that's August 30 as well. So the new onboarding experience, August 30.
1 week.
1 week.
1 week, just to be clear.
Yeah.
All right. 2028.
No, he meant 2030 is what he meant.
Yeah. Yes, it's not.
That's
Yeah.
important, it's important, ASC's only
Yeah.
1 week.
That's good, thank you.
Let us get up.
You're gonna get a month to play with all these new features before they go
Yeah.
into GA.
Like it.
So the more human readable, you're learning to trace log and being able to actually understand. I mean, you can kind of pick through it and understand it, but it's going to become more traceable.
You can think through it if you know if you know what the components are, and you can kind of reverse engineer what the message might mean, but sometimes you can misinterpret that. So yes, we'll be making that much more.
Are you going to get rid of a bunch of the repetitive stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be great. It's just sometimes it takes 5 minutes to understand what you're really reading. I'm sure these guys know what I'm talking about. You fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
Read it long enough.
just to let you know, the kind of thought process we're going through it, we're going to deploy all this stuff on August 30, give it to you for a month to play with. That is a time during which we expect to give feedback about what you like about it, what you don't like about it, what's working, what isn't. And then that gives us time to bake in changes as well. Then we'll launch it for everyone a month later, and then we'll measure the impact. We'll see how we're doing. And then from that, we'll kind of consolidate our position a little bit, get some data, and then work out where to go next. We've got some ideas, but there's no point in us being the people who drive the agenda. It's really going to be influenced by you guys and how to put it.
Slide in that greater relief playing about.
Is anybody else concerned about not being able to delete printers in Hive? Has anybody run into that?
It's not a thing. You already hired.
Chris has already hammered them, you know.
We might be coding it right now, by the way, because Chris brought it up to code.
August 30th.
August 30.
There we go.
It's a little OCD.
Yeah, so we're trying to make sure that the remote team can hear what we're saying. And I think we're monitoring somehow or another the chat. So if you guys have questions, by all means, we want to be able to present them. I don't think we can see them on the screen, but Brian's going to be able to tell us if you do have questions. So, but if you're speaking over there, just remember that we've got the remote team listening. Sorry.
Serious.
I have a couple of questions. One of them is about multiverse. So can we integrate multiverse with NM Hive, like out of the box? Can we make it like, it's already there on this,
Let's stream it right in, bro.
so instead of like, so installing it separate and you have the US, we don't care about you.
Yeah, did you hear that? The US, they don't care about you.
On the other side, the remote tabs there, they just click it, they punch in our instance number or whatever, and boom, they show up.
We have had that conversation with Smea about including it in the MF installer. We will call out right now that multiverse is in pause, so are not actively working on multiverse right now. Mainly because we've got our core focus on the MF roadmap, and we just don't have the resources to work on it. But it's paused, it's not ended, it will come back. It's next year before it comes back next year.
calls me the same thing for you that it doesn't. It's another.
Literally makes pause, yeah. So,
Speaking of pause product, what about job ticket? Can we like put this back on the selling?
Yeah.
Like, new job tickets.
Resurgence.
Things to say about that.
Yeah, she's got a good point. She's talking about.
Okay, so, we came out with job ticketing. It was made for a problem. It solved the problem. It was a good price for the solution. We're kind of like done, right? But organically printing is going down. And what we are seeing is companies as well as schools are putting together print runs and saying, hey, send your larger devices or your larger jobs here. We're getting rid of a bunch of these devices. So right now, I don't want to exaggerate. So I would say every single week this year, I have had questions on job ticketing multiple times a week. Sometimes it literally feels like every single day. So my question is, or my suggestion is, are there things that we could do to maybe revamp job ticketing and remarket it? Because it's a completed product, there's hardly anything left to do, right? We could revamp it, remarket it, and get more sales and more attention in the industry for almost nothing.
yeah, it's a good one. It's one of those things where, look, I'd say we generally probably end up doing about 20% of what we want to do, what we intend to do.
Yeah.
Most cases, because there's always a nice distraction. Job ticketing is one of those things that falls by the wayside. As you said, job ticketing will probably remain in its current form moving forward. We do have some security fixes to do on it. We're actually targeting a release in December, which wraps up some security fixes. And some of the forms, things like a user could change a job after it being submitted by the operator, things like that will fix up. But then, maybe what we need to do is potentially reprice it and then see if that picks up in the market, which then will actually bring us to refocus on it as well. So it's something I definitely can talk to go-to-market teams about, is maybe a different price point that may invigorate it, therefore actually requiring us to invest in it and actually understand what gaps are facing. But I'd say for the next midterm, we'll see a release come out, that'll be a bit of a cleanup release, and then it'll officially go into a maintenance mode where it'll only have security fixes forward. But that's not forever, right? That's until we come back to it.
So two things with job ticketing. Again, I know it really, really well. So some of the feedback that I get, one of the things they want to be able to do is once they lose my train of thought, I'm talking to you about it, got so many ideas running. But one of the things they want to be able to do with job ticketing is sort it out by job type. So we could say, hey, I'm going to knock out all the booklets at once, and then you do all the booklets at once. And then another request is to be able to just view more jobs at once in a cleaner format, because I have had an opportunity, like with Jefferson County Schools, one of our largest PaperCut deals. They were looking at job ticketing, and I had to advise them to not go to job ticketing because it was just too much. They didn't have a clean dashboard to look and organize their jobs versus what they had already built. So I ended up advising them not to go with job ticketing because I didn't think it was going to do the same thing for them. So if we can have it where you can list it out, maybe the boxes aren't as big, maybe it's like a line item where it describes it, where they can look at 1,000 at a time. But that's the niche. We're getting customers that have thousands of jobs a week that are coming through now. And then also they could filter them by job type. I can help you like remarket that. There's a huge hole in the market for it right now. You can also charge a lot more for it because the other option is a full-on digital
Which is why we built
marketplace,
the
right? Yeah, to close the gap. So that gap is still there. If anything, that gap is getting bigger, is what I'm saying, between what they're needing and then what that digital marketplace offers.
If you want to spend some time tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
If y'all are not developed, sounds like it's not on development at all. Very good to you. Probably within a year or more before we're so to me, I think that maybe that's something we would get connected with the sales side. I can put something more product and like sell what we have and be very clear about it. What I've seen, the biggest problem we have is the same thing that's advantage of is that it's a limited product. We're so used to PaperCut being a very like good army knife, does everything. You need to get salt this way, work this way. Job ticketing, it's not usable for fun. It is a new product on purpose, and so, you know, I think it's perfectly fine. I've got to decide what it is. We have to, people know that.
But I mean, you guys announced. You were getting back your table.
They almost ended up.
It's been taken a while.
So what, if that ever starts back up, I really, really want to be a part of. I think we'll make it so simple. They just don't want.
If you can make it like a cloud based and you can even make it some subscription, that would be a solution.
I mean, the challenge we have, right, is we've only got 400 sales globally, job ticketing. And we have a big portfolio, right? And
Yeah.
So everything we keep alive is another distraction of the core things that we need to get done.
Yep.
And so they're hard trade-off decisions, right? And so maybe a maintenance mode's not ideal, but at least we can keep it available. And if the tide shifts, then we can actually pivot back in the future and actually start to.
Fixes would allow me to scale it significantly.
Yes, I think that's definitely.
Yeah, use the funds.
I would say triple whatever I've sold. I actually asked Kim if she would give me some of my numbers. She'll probably send them to me in a minute. I was asking how many times we've quoted versus how many we've sold this year.
That would be good.
One of the areas that we are focused on in in 2025 is reigniting our education customer panel. So I think one of the areas we can focus on in that is the importance of job ticketing and type of storefront in the education space. And start to get feedback in on itself to actually see how it helps out professional education, being able to use code.
A third of the people I'm talking to are not schools, they are commercial. They have a large number of MFPs. Let's say they have 50, they're dropping about 5 in their renewal, and then they're doing job ticketing. So it's almost like when we are losing the renewal revenue because printing's declining, we're able to grab it somewhere else by adding job ticketing to it. And that's something that I think is unique. And as we look at printing declining, we're gonna have to come up with ways to make that money back, right? So if we look at these large organizations that are simplifying and consolidating, we're missing revenue, let's sell them something else.
Back to the future.
Yeah.
Back to premiums.
Yeah.
The high availability.
Carol.
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 How are you?
Yeah.
Can you please introduce
Oh, yeah.
yourself? How many cats do you have? 13.
What are their names?
Yeah, what are their names?
I'm not up for Jeff's on.
That's true.
So, high availability is filling up more and more. I think we got our first layer of settlement this week, but there's not a lot of documentation and information. I was just really wondering what's the plan for high availability. There's gonna be more work. We're planning on doing some stuff internally, but when we get them, we get a little nervous and they take a long time. A lot of it's dependent on the quality of the IT people of the company, so that doesn't help us. But if there's things we can do to make that easier, I'm sure you had a PaperCut when it first started, people didn't have the background. Are there any plans to do any more work on that?
So I actually spoke to Christy about that earlier this week, when she was in Portland. So Christy and the TS team here are going to actually go through and document the recommended setup. Then we're going to go back and look at from the development team to make sure they're comfortable and sort of tick that off from an accredited implementation point of view, so that we efficiently support load balances. Because right now it's a little bit grey as to whether or not we do. From a product point of view, we don't have short-term plans to look at high availability. We obviously need to do the fix for high availability for version 24, so that's the short-term plan. But sort of it's another thing that's probably from a product standpoint, it'll be what it is for a period of time.
We're starting to see more.
But I mean, I would encourage that, everything I was before my time, but everything I've been told about high availability was a stopgap fix. And so customers who are really keen on having highly available environments, all of our developers encourage them to go to clustering or something in the database layer or the application layer versus using PaperCut's high availability, which is really just a simple failover service.
You guys accept that answer?
There are a few competitors that
see.
I think that do a better job of like the not just this like network level of like how they're doing to the product itself having kind of how there's sometimes native with high, kind of like MFP kind of natively like, okay, I can't find this one, I can wait for this for 5 app servers or file servers or like that, you know. I don't, that, there are a few parts of the better because of that. I hate that, like, always thought that your software, I think it is. Over here.
But those software share, they don't share a database, they're all, I'm sorry, so it's not like each of them have a database, like, I hate to say it, you know, there's database on your so. Right, so one drops it, here it's where it is. Now, very databases are doing a lot of stuff, that's fantastic, what you're saying is they rely on their virtualization, or whatever it's doing, but that's a lot of resources. And then here's the problem is, and the project coordinators can verify this, out of every 5 HA environments we go into, one environment may have the staff that's smart enough to even configure their own load balancer. Never mind standing up clusters of super databases and all this stuff to make this fair across. I think, and Josh isn't one of the problems, so he's like, you accept that. I think we could still do a better job. I want to say this leading off of last year when we had this fireside chat. You guys weren't here, a different team. I think was it last year? Last year. Okay. So we talked a lot about like, high, and you won't see as much MF, and we're still seeing just as much MF. You may say high now, and then next year you're going to say high. MF's going to be around a little bit. I know the resource. I'm just saying this out loud. Okay, you're saying anything. I'll eat one. You guys just follow that. At the end of the day, you can't keep turning a blind eye to everything MF because it's going to be here for a little while. I firmly believe that MF is going to be.
Telling that every day.
Yeah, and I'm with that sure.
I think one thing I will say, which is on the roadmap, which does lend itself to this, is one of our large projects focused for next year, this financial year, is to containerize MF. So we're looking to make MF available in cloud marketplaces, so Azure and AWS particularly. Needs to purchase a license. As part of that, we're looking to also make MF more capable, compatible containerization. So starting to look at breaking up the components of MF into separate containers that can be scaled across a cloud native environment, which then will bring in failover because you have containerization failover in Kubernetes, for example. So you could use Redshift for your database. You might have an application server pre-deploy running its own container, mobility print running the container, maybe even the print provider running its own container as well, and having shift different services hosted in an AWS environment where an admin can make one click and deploy 5 servers in an AWS environment. So that's on our roadmap for next year. That's around positioning MF in private cloud even stronger than it is today. Still behind a VPN and still requiring a VPN to connect.
I was going to say that's the problem. The only problem with that is, there'll be great deployment, more scalable, 100%. But then you still got the data that they're paying for. That's what slowed our cloud project down. So we're actually going to stop doing because the data, just the amount of money, it starts getting to where you're breaking even or you're just barely making any money by the time you pay. So I'm just saying, and I know you know that, but I want these people to know that the data thing still is a problem. You're paying for that.
I just add to what Matt said as well. Right, quick one. A lot of the work that we are involved in is working out how to build a platform of shared components for both MF and Hive. It's not that the Hive is dominating all of the available resources in the business. A lot of what we do, the code runs on the device. We're looking to work out how do we unify the code running on the device to work with both products. And it's probably the back part of just over 100 people in the product team. And I'd say about 60% of that is on cloud, 40% of that at the moment is on server. So it's a reasonably healthy balance.
So it's not dominating. I think that's one of the concerns that I've heard over the last 12 months is, or the last 24 months was, PaperCut got abandoned now. And only focus on time and knowing the amount of resources we are allocated to each of the products. I would say that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in MF, obviously, just on the sheer customer base, we have 20 times the distraction that actually Hive gets from a support standpoint, from a security standpoint. So best laid plans usually go out the window many times when we think we're going to get something done.
Yeah.
So we try to, you're not going to see a revolutionary new set of features in MF, but what you will see is more shared services, more shared components, more cloud in MF, where it makes administration installation simpler for MF. Just like we've done with scanning as a platform service, what other services can we introduce over time, particularly in subscription, that make administration and maintenance of MF easier as well? So we continue to invest in MF where it makes sense. So a really good example is scanning capability in Hive is far superior to PaperCut MF around data lookups, lists, capturing metadata from the user and using it to drive scan workflows. We're bringing similar functionality to MF and algorithms. So that will allow people to configure those scan workflows, but also for people like yourselves to build your own connectors to third-party management systems, very similar to how fax works, backward to back-end fax integration framework as well. So there is a balance. There is obviously the challenge we have is there's so much to do in Hive, right? So we have to actually make sure we have the right resources there to bring that baseline capability while still maintaining that by never shut up about it. That's my job. So,
But is there a cross pollination between the teams, or is it a unique skill set for the on-prem person?
In some areas there are, in some areas there aren't.
Yeah.
But yes, in short, there are server-based engineers who want to get exposure to cloud, and vice versa. There are people in cloud who want to work on containerizing MF. Yes, so the design team works across both products, or documentation team, and sometimes our product teams as well.
a good example right now is our Pi team. So Willem's team. They've traditionally been an MF focused team. But with the print stack changes coming from Microsoft, they're now building portfolio components that are going to go into all of our products at once. And so that comes back the other way sometimes as well. They're just about to finish SAML authentication in Hive. And now the architecture team developing that system, I'm about to pull over to MF as we actually pivot to that in the next couple of months as well. So there's definitely cross-pollination, but there are also devs who write Java and devs who write Java.
Okay, I've got one last. Here, 1 second. So I got, before the real Chris gets here, I have one more.
Okay, we had another one too in the back. Brian.
Brian.
I'm a marketing systems coordinator here, just monitoring the chat. Ray Martinez, TSC. He asked, would Hive be able to create diagnostic files option such as an MF to include a bundle of files rather than obtaining job ID, then the printer diagnostic on top of that, enabling Hive to debug mode, or simply an easier method for the customer to enable debug and press the download diagnostic files that includes all the necessary files.
Anything's possible.
Politicians answer.
So now I'm taking
We'll get started.
Yeah.
People
Is that a question?
This has been on real estate.
1 minute quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I think actually the answer is hopefully August 30, which is not that we'll deliver that, but hopefully what we do deliver from that release will eliminate the need for the admin to go find those logs. So we're trying to cut it off at the cause rather than provide a solution after the problem's happened. We'll shut the stable door before the horse bolts. But again, like I said, we'll monitor the situation. If our solution doesn't deliver the desired impact, so far it has. It's taken print job reliability from 99.7 up to 97% up to 96.7.
on direction.
Yeah, we're at 99.6 now. So we've gone up by 2.6% with what we've done with autopilot. So, that's why I say it's possible, but we're going to work out whether we need to do it. Good question.
Just a real quick one. So when we did a project originally with BMG, the data center was only in the US and they really needed, all those other data centers coming online for Hive. And the other thing is they're now migration because what they were hoping they could do was do it in the US and then migrate to the UK, to Germany actually. And that was done. So those centers now available and there's our migration kit.
I know PMG well. I used to deal with them back in my music days in London.
You're good at that. What'd you play? What'd you play?
No, I sold other people's music. I didn't make my own. Yes, they're available. So we have 4 data centers now: Germany, UK, Australia, and America. So they've been active now for a year. And whilst it's possible to migrate, we're not encouraging client or customers to migrate, mainly because it's a redeployment, and all of their old data can't be taken with. And a redeployment means onboarding all your users again, deploying the embedded, uninstalling, reinstalling all the embedded on the machine. So whilst it can be done, and if you look at Microsoft, if you want to migrate data center to Microsoft, they give you a form you need to print out and fill in order to request the migration. Point is, they try to make it difficult.
Get us on that question.
Yeah. I'm just repeating that so that Chris would normally get.
Yeah.
But it's booster system.
Well, and now you can ask the question from the other guys.
That's all we can see.
I just got in, you said everything was 5 lines to go.
Yeah.
August 30.
Yeah.
Very good, everything.
The world team.
So it's possible, and I don't think, we have done 1 or 2, but we tried to avoid.
It's only because the US was the only thing open and
Yeah.
we didn't have their data stream.
We can probably look at it to work out whether there's a different way of achieving the same outcome.
They're still trying to deploy, they're still pushing. back.
Oh, that was wider. Push it on.
Yeah, data center migration. It's a funny one. Microsoft go out and you've got to fill all these paperwork, all these forms.
Or are you getting introduce yourself to the people that don't know?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Is there a reason why you said on the belly?
We told me.
But you know, like how people like no, I won't go there. I've got to get Josh into trouble.
Okay, yeah, no.
You just don't start spilling the tea.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, Chris Vance, I was the co-founder and CEO of PaperCut, or as I like to claim myself, the original techie, wrote the first line of code and also the first bug. Firstly, yeah. Probably not the first line, but maybe the first 20 lines.
Matt and I haven't written any bugs. Because we don't write any code.
The sign that says, how many days since the last bug?
Yeah.
He's going. Chris will make us write some code.
I think so, yeah. Fix that pretty soon.
I have a suggestion for you, since MF is your baby. Whenever you are testing and pushing out MF in the cloud at first, you call it something different to protect the MF name.
Got any ideas?
No, but that would be a really good idea because people have such a taste in their mouth with Hive. And one of the number one things I get asked about Hive is, are you going to change the name? Are you going to change the name? And so I just keep that in mind when I think about doing so with MF because it has such high confidence in name recognition right now, right?
What taste do they have in their microphone?
Things not working and having to pivot to MF. Frankly, like my number one competitor is MF. It's hard to sell against MF. Yeah, it's I don't really feel like I lose to other products. In the conversation, we end up pivoting to MF. And then they already have the confidence in the product. They've probably seen it before. The dealer is confident in the name. And we just have such a high reputation. We have so consistently, as we make changes, I would maybe call it something different and solve the bugs and work out. Yeah. And then once you're really 100% on board, then I would push it out as MF in the cloud.
We have to be careful because we've got a large percentage of our customers on the cloud, right?
Yeah.
The plan is just to make it easy to set up.
Yeah.
There's no changes to the product or make the box, effectively the box comes. So the branding helps.
I would just say really happy and comfortable. So again, that name with it because people really respect it.
Sammy?
So I'm gonna train them, but, so a year ago, there was some, they want to be separated, it's still in Canada, but also just being, you know, we're able to sell it, so that's still a possibility.
You might have dreamed that.
No, I think.
It was like a dream.
He was jumping up and down.
There was print deployed in the cloud, being a standalone product. I've talked about.
I heard it too, we're not very good.
It was early on in conversation.
Yeah, we talked about it. So I think there's no doubt that as the organizations want to get rid of free service, then you have this whole new problem. How do you make drivers work, right? And that's why this concept of print enablement or pushing drive deployments out. Also, as we go through these changes in Windows around this Windows protected printing, it's going to introduce a bit of complexity as well. The reality, though, I think, is that these are spikes get back to a point where Microsoft actually eliminating drivers. It'd be really easy to push these things out. And it's not going to become a very strong thing. And you see the likes of like Logic rapidly trying to become a print management company, adding embedded, adding logging, things like that, because management as a whole is where the game is. So when we came in, we invented a segment of the market called print control, like quotas and charging, because we weren't a print management company. We created that term, then created it to create a space in the market, and then we expanded to become print management using print release, forwarding, things like that. So it's a common product strategy. Rename a niche, right? Put something in it, and then quickly turn yourself into the broader thing over time. And that's what Print and Logic are doing. And it's silly for us to try and do the same because we're already up here, right? So if we release just something that did dry deployment in the cloud, we're not going to be able to compete against those products because they're adding secure print release and embedded. So what we need to do is make sure that we've got that in the product. But the vision that we set forward is this concept of starts with. And when you think about PaperCut NF, you can just put it on server, just do logging and reporting if you want. You could just use it for Chromebook printing if you want. So you could start with many things. You could just use it for drive deployment, don't track anything, not even look at a report. Yeah, so you can actually start with log. The one thing you can't start with, you know, maybe in hindsight was you might want to reassess the feature of scanning. Scanning itself is a feature. So as we're looking at the onboarding process, the way you set up Pipe, to got this vision of being able to start scanning. Right? The problem though is when we release Pocket Pipe, we have one feature. This one release. So you can't have a start with choice, right? But now we've got direct printing, we've got native driver, we've got reporting, right? We can now say we've built the kit up enough. So now we can reintroduce that concept of starts with. We don't need to jam secure print release down. But people want to just run it for reporting. Thank you. So we need to make some onboarding changes that we need to set up, and maybe some licensing changes that allow you to choose different price points to go in under different narratives. Because if someone's just going to use it to bulk Chromebook printing or print collect in the office, that just that feature set maybe got to reassess the same price point, but that's what we need your expertise to consider that. The concept of starting with something is what the focus is. So the first step is to get that SSO, which you talked about. It's about being released. That's a key part of that onboarding experience. The next part is just to resurface direct printing and native driver, if you want, to make sure that they're that starts with the picture. So, and I think that would be compelling, right? Because it'll go in, as a salesperson, you'll be able to go in and say, well, they're really interested in the printing. I can just start with that and get got that. Then I can potentially upsell or encourage them to have features later. So that's a concept, or they just need to solve a drive deployment problem. Bang, I can start with that. So imagine that concept of starts with the drive.
It could be a commercial standalone purchase if that was the core reason the customer was buying. Not gonna have to buy embeddeds and then add this on top for it, they can commercially say, I need 100 queues and one embed, for example, that's what they need. Still figuring that one out.
Question. Not necessarily from a sales standpoint, from a standpoint, but from a technical standpoint, for like fault tolerance sake, has there been any thought to splitting print point off so that it can be installed onto like a site server or something for a customer that might be very interested in fault tolerance and have site server implementation? Like the one thorn in the side would be like print point's super popular, but it still has to report back to a primary application server. So if there's a disconnected network, they still use their printers. So if there was a way to get deployed in site server, then that would provide greater fault tolerance.
So print deploy can be installed standalone with a pseudo application server to an extent. I can't remember how it works in offline mode. It might not have been developed, but it's probably a fairly undocumented feature. And I think we should connect with Willem and talk through the scenarios because you can get fault tolerance with print deploy by keeping it as a semi-standalone.
I've heard of people just put, you put an application server and kind of use that application server, connect endpoints, print server and stuff, but maybe it's just saying customer doesn't want to have to use that server. They have just one site server. So you're saying there's a way to make that print deploy work with the site server.
It might not interrupt with the site server. That might be the limitation. So I think
Exactly. So it's not on the site server. You can have it standalone, but the site server will have the ability to the network and you still can operate fully back to the without having to have two separate servers at a location.
Yeah.
On sites.
yeah, that's good feedback because the site server effectively is a database anyway. What the print deploy standalone is a big small database, so it might be a way for us to check a little. Good feedback.
Do integrations for like counting integrations, I think that we do. We have seen that like private what this should have, but like there's, I don't know if it's just that it's got more complex, but like API calls are slow, that we can like can't like follow through with anywhere, like even if it's the native syncing of like a count list, like you try to sync in 20,000 accounts, but some of them the guys doing what they double checking his aliases or pushing things wrong, same thing, but inside that question would be, are there other things developed as far as plugins or other things that we can attack some of these things that all just don't have established? Do that, probably that right now already within the book. Love to even look at that and see. We would probably ought to do the core. Do all the things we can't do. If there are things that are just not going to be every single customer needs that kind of thing. That we ought to that's bars, value add.
Yeah, I think obviously advanced fax connections, which you've already started to work on, is one good example of that. When we introduced the advanced scanning in the November release, it'll have very similar concepts. You'll be able to build a connector for advanced scan to third-party document management systems, for example. So that'll be one other area. But you could also just go and take the XML output from the advanced scanning and process that with another application if it that way. So that's probably one new thing that's coming. That will be licensed using the same SKUs as the advanced scan fax connector SKUs as well. So that's probably an area as we build that feature out, make sure we're documenting that and make examples available to yourselves so you can actually look at building integrations to other document processing solutions.
I'd love to see some of the older integration points maybe be modernized, like external card number stuff, which is the database looked up right now, which works fine, but we're seeing more and more where some of those now it's almost like the fax, basically an ability to call us and the benefits will come through the ACDI lookup, which is returning.
I think it's basically, take that. We are also looking at, we know we need to add, and we'll have no one did that, had an API layer in our cloud product, right? So many of our own features, including embeds themselves, rebuild on top of that API. The intention is it's going to open up to all partners at the right point as well.
Stepping in maybe like we have something we need. Look at the process.
So maybe as part of that defining the API in the cloud, we also look for unification across the products at some way. We're looking at that scanning, but we could actually extend that into one areas. Oh, nice. So that might be another potential unified area.
As an example, we talked about cloud services. There might be a way where we can actually use a cloud service where you're calling a common API that's connecting back to MF and actually doing interpretation of the existing APIs for you.
So I love that. That's kind of alluding to something that we've looked at like ingress technology, kind of do like a virtual, like where you kind of can like have a cloud service sitting here and that's constantly. So you don't have to set up a VPN and additional tenants, but it's like kind of acting like that. And then like our cloud application can ask to make API calls and make it like periodically ask, getting the packets and things like. Love to keep them that made and there's a well, because then we can bridge that gap because there's still good need to have to be not a full cloud application, but at least looking at an API level or a situation so we can get to that. More and more, you just can't do that anymore. You just don't have to back and forth.
I think with the modern print stack changes that are coming, what we'll likely see over time is a lot of the mobility print capability will actually move native into MF with the print provider. Just as those changes occur, and so some of that functionality will then be native. You won't need to install mobility print separately to get that. And as that progresses, we want to bring the cloud printing capability native to MF too. So you can tick box and say, I want off-network printing for MF. I tick that box, it registers a cloud service, and then you can actually print specific jobs from off the network in a very similar fashion. So it's a good example where the cloud makes things easier for MF, even if it is a self-hosted solution, where it's difficult to do those things like open ports, have VPNs and firewalls. We can open up some simple administration and maintenance user capability there as well.
Question. This is up. No, Jeremy.
So I've heard rumor about it's a printer-less finding you. Zach and right. Well, I guess a serverless finding tree. I guess that's the word. I'm just curious about that's the pipeline.
No output queues.
So that's without having prints.
Just switch right.
So like and I kind of envisioned that it would work for use of what I was currently doing, but just deploying a central print queue and then.
Like no print queues on the workstation, nothing like that.
There's no output queues. So we do for print deploy. There were three big things we were going to have in the roadmap this year: bulk management by API and UI, and then serverless, exactly serverless finding. We do have a version of serverless that's probably more of a test than it was a solution, and it's in one customer in the EU. But the print stack work that's coming on the modern print stack has actually pivoted the whole print deploy roadmap into its modern print stack work. But I think the exciting thing for MF is the print stack work is going to require us to remove our reliance on the operating system print stack, develop our own print stack, which we've already done in Hive. So moving away from the requirement to have input and output queues for everything that MF does, you'll effectively generate a spool file. You'll have that spool file, and you'll be able to submit and send that spool file to the printer and whatever delivery method is available. And so I think you'll see that will become available through the print stack changes as we move away from that traditional, here's my input queue, my finding queue, here's my output queues I can send to hey, here's a spool file, how am I going to deliver that to the printer? It might be the legacy method, or it might be the new modern print stack method, and I think that capability will come the next 12.
That's definitely been one of those things. And it's works well with private flexibility. Look like they're coming on PaperCut like that. Already a long time they're trying to do their own. They had laws for that. Build your own things.
Yeah, I think the modern print stack initiatives that we've got, we've played a very active part in that community with our relationships with Microsoft, also got a team going in in October, November into Japan, because we're worried about that the print vendors, particularly the Japanese ones, they just sit there and do what they're told from Microsoft. And there's a real risk with that. Microsoft really creating monopolies through blocking approaches, right, which they do it advertently with a deliberate strategy or inadvertently just because of their sheer mass. The reality that happens. So we want to get in there and in our structure from where we're driving with that PaperCut, we want to have a lot more horizontal teams. So teams that work on platforms that are across all our products. So we have a team working on the print stack that works across all our products. We have multiple teams that work on our embedded technologies across all our products. And that gives us economy of scale and make sure that both cloud and self-hosted are equal players moving forward because they're basing on equal technology. So we're not leaving behind market transitions. So that's the important part of our strategy. So having a core print stack. Now, it's not that we're going to replace the Microsoft operating system. Humans will allow customers to continue to do that, but it's nice to have an option which sits on top of that. You know, the cloud has some parity that we
Got a head start, we've already done it for Hive, so we can learn what's in Hive and actually bring that together.
I know y'all trying to do the app, and I think I was talking maybe a couple of years ago, we had a thoughts for a while, like it, just like on an actual run, on an actual, yeah, if you like one manufacturer, about to get factory, well, we got to probably get my close down. Still working on it.
there is. So Lexmark is an example of Rico examples of Unify because they're already on the device and share a lot of common code. The reality is though, when you get to the web services ones where it becomes a lot more complicated, the one's on the cloud or one's in the server. So what we're doing is it looks like maybe Rico is going to be the first one where we're actually making a true unified technology and doing that. So we've had the artificial components being looked up for a while, and now we're going to pick a few brands to actually turn it into reality over the coming 12 months.
Set it up when you control the factory.
So it'll be
Back in the day, Sharp, like, you think it worked well, because you were out one out, but then you have to be aware of how to get a path back to the device, separate channel, then just use like cut the flaw on the whole platform.
It is, and that's one reason we're going to Japan. It's also raised some of those flaws.
Yeah, we had stuff layered on possibility, but like reality will figure. Aren't just figuring what the house real that might trick it. How would that be able to? We're just sharp, reaching out, and think of the they helped it.
But it's important to call out as well, the unified embed starts with the Hive embed. So, it'll be a Hive embed with a gateway connected to MF. So it'll only evolve as the Hive feature set evolves. So we might release it to show the technology in the direction, but it will have the Hive feature set. So it might not have all the capability of the current MF. And then as that progresses, we bring that to both platforms in a unified way. So it's a multi-major.
Make a decision to accelerate the unified embed, bring up the features with MF, but let Hive consume it. So I think we've got a very strong incentive to create unified embed as a part of our development. Right, so that's why it's a
And then there's obviously the customer story, but migration story is migrate saying bed once we have this.
So there's been a lot of saying of unification, right, between products and between being able to work on a platform that works across all products. So is the ultimate goal, because right now what we're pitching to our customers with unified subscription, right? Yeah. To being able to be on MF for now, and then once there's more feature parity, move to Hive, is there going to be a true migration path or a hybrid use path where you could use both products at the same time, reporting within each other, or be able to migrate from MF to Hive without losing your users and certain historical data and embeds if they're a unified embed?
I think the first step is the entitlement server moving Hive to the same entitlement server as MF. Then you can actually you can activate MF and Hive orgs on the same entitlement server. then it'll be progressing into see what capability would actually be able to migrate, and what capability would we need to build specific tools to migrate to the equivalent between NF and Hive. There will also obviously there'll be a hybrid opportunity for companies like yourselves where you might want to build reporting engines on top of the portfolio to actually show data from both places, for example, do centralized reporting. But that's the goal long term. What it looks like is based on what's possible to migrate is still a bit done.
If you're talking with your partners, right, a really an easy way to explain this is PaperCut's always been about choice. Have allowed choice in operating system, choice in embedded brand, and the way I often explain it to people is we surveyed every one of our customers, all 80,000, right, and we asked the question. Not one of those 80,000 said, "Yeah, please lock me into a particular brand." Or, yeah, of course, lock me into Apple. Had decades of being paying Microsoft. Please do it again, right? Or offer an opinion and lock me into cloud only, right? No, we've seen a pivot now back to a lot of organisations that had spent so much money on cloud services. You see a bit of pivot back to self-hosted, maybe not servers, but definitely self-hosted. So I think you're always going to get that change. So the best thing our customers ask for is choice. If you want a Chromebook, I want to be able to run Chromebook, but if they're not needing my purpose, I want to go back to Windows laptops, so I should be able to do that. So we're always about that choice, and it's the same. We want to be able to allow customers to get their subscription to move up and down in that cloud hosting environment. So if they want on-prem, they can do on-prem. If they want to move to private cloud, they can transition with no cost. If they want to go to public cloud, they can transition. If they public cloud, but it turns out that they prefer private cloud because of performance or data sovereignty reasons, they can make that transition. We need to build the tools, so that's not just licensing, it's not just compatibility. We need to have tools to migrate. When we've done migrations in the past, so we had migration from a previous product to pre-MF, what we found in most cases, customers were looking to forgo their data and configuration. The areas that they weren't willing to forgo were things like student balances where there's real money in the account. They were often willing to have last year's reports. I know it's going to be running this system, and as long as I can boot up that system and get the data, it's okay. They're often willing to even on that reporting boundaries have a date. But there were certain things, certain configuration, and certain things like balances that must be put across. And I think we'll make sure between, say NF and Hive or vice versa, we have tools to be able to migrate them.
So that brings up a good case. Are we going to get more bulk user actions within
August 30th?
August 30th?
Yeah.
So I know about because I know about the new features that are coming out in August 30th, but I didn't think that was part of it.
There's the beginnings of a bulk user action feature will be introduced at August 30th for invitation. Because we're giving the administrator the ability to disable the automatic email invitation from being sent, we need to give them the ability to send it on bulk at some point later in the future. So that's the first iteration of the bulk action feature. Then again, it's a platform component that will be run across the entire application. But we realized we couldn't add the capability without add the new onboarding experience without bringing that type of solution in.
All the bulk user action functions that UI has been designed for the Hive for same action. Adding money to account, moving, changing changing share account. That's all the whole model has been developed with that in mind. Now, of course, we don't have balances and shared accounts at the moment because they're in development, but the bulk user feed they developed for that. And in fact, the team working on the quotas and shared accounts for the education feature settings, the team that's still the bulk is coming with us.
And that's coming when?
That was the question I was gonna ask.
was gonna ask about the cost tracking and reporting that's happening on this thirtieth, you didn't go, hey, accounts coming for 5 and then.
I'll take it. It's, just building on what Chris said, we've actually built the balancing feature. It wouldn't make any sense to launch the balancing feature, because we can't do anything with it. If you can't stop a print job or a copy job when the balance runs done, then what's the point in deploying the balance feature? We've actually done the work, which has enabled the team to go back and do the bulk actions, which is helping out the cloud team often. The next iteration of that will be to build in quotas. And the quotas feature is going to be virtually identical. What's in it? You know, Matt and I, we were up at a school in Sydney. They had, what, 80 odd schools running in that? One install. And it became very apparent to us that if they were ever going to migrate across, then we needed to give them continuity. So that, to your point, if you do move over, you don't want them to be learning an entirely new interface. So the language needs to be similar, the features and the presentation of it needs to be very similar to MF and themes are hot. If it's going to give you continuity, well, let's of course improve it where we see opportunities to. We'll also take out maybe some of the complexity where we see an opportunity to as well. But the plan at the moment, quoted by the end of the year, and share the account next year. That's the plan. And again, we know that once we get balances, then we can release quotas. We have something of value that we put into the market. That's the reason for doing it in that order. And then once we have quotas, then we can do share. They all nest into each other and add additional layers of value. Plan is to get very, very close to MF where it makes sense.
You're opening up that black box a little bit, what he said. So will we have more capabilities for doing things like the integrations that we do today with the MF once that's opened up for time?
That will be after shared accounts, yes. Well, our third phase, we're going to three-phase cloud strategy. Phase 1 is all about resetting the foundation, making sure that people don't have a bad taste in their mouth about Hive anymore. Making sure that they What?
What was that? About the bad taste or about?
You got it.
Okay.
You got it.
Yeah, no, our teams, our support teams, they've taken it and then acted well.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with me, of course.
You righted this ship.
Nowhere to go but.
Yeah, well,
You know, I've seen a lot of improvements in the last few years.
No, it's an awesome team. It's got nothing to do.
Brady has a question.
A question about sharing accounts. I integrate here for PaperCut. I just did a Hive install right before coming up here for a legal customer. I guess what they asked, shared accounts. So I get kind of asked that on a regular basis. So yeah, if you guys can get me shared accounts and get me able to export, I could integrate. I get a lot of people asking.
Absolutely.
And but just one call out is, look at the data sources feature in Hive, that was actually designed as a platform feature. And so you can already see it's applied to scanning. That will apply to shared accounts in the future as well. So you can use the same list for both, or you can use separate lists for each functionality. And obviously we'll need to introduce some sort of syncing capability to that in the future as well.
What is there going to be like a pop-up involved with them and that?
Yeah, you can only do it with that. There may be a possibility that we could do it on the embeddeds earlier. You can select, you have to select it for copy. Why can't you do it for print release at that point? But when we're putting things like direct printing in, which don't require embeddeds, that's the whole point. You don't have to do single release. You then can only do it for a pop-up. Also, when you look at the use cases of printing, say in a legal firm, it's the time that you press Control-P is the time when you're thinking, what project am I on? What client matter do I have? Why am I printing this? Not when you're collecting it. So the products that actually have done the account selection at print release time, I have always been able to really effectively sell against it because I'm collecting 10 jobs after lunch. I don't know what bloody account, so I've got so mistakes happen But if you're doing control feed, you get the pop-up at that time, you'll wait to remember. So I think we want to be able to hit that narrative because it has been a clear selling point of difference.
Call it 2-click build back. People love it.
Yeah.
On that, like in the Office 30 release is the first time introducing a component that interaction with the user as well. But
Yeah.
that'll be where it'll come in the future as well.
If you haven't established a link between your user and I, the first time you hit Control B, you'll be invited to authenticate. That authentication will link you and also take you to a brand new user portal. That user portal is going to show you your access code, going to show you your print history. That user portal is going to be customizable by the admin. They can choose whether or not to display the mobile app in there, for example. Some schools don't permit mobile, and so they don't want to show the mobile to their students when they want to sign up or link the account. So great deal more choice coming, like Chris said. It's always been embedded in PaperCut. Getting back to you can do that now.
But more. So that's, I want to get a person who customizes as much as possible. But that was maybe, yes, just the, had people say, you can just make the logo off there or just.
Yeah, so now you wouldn't use the default email. Because you have full control over that.
That is a custom URL to your own company portal.
So
Just during, actually, in that.
Raymond again?
Keep drinking.
She loves PaperCut stuff.
Yeah, she's dreaming.
She fell asleep.
I'm Dylan, I'm a TSC. So with Hive, would you be able to ever implement like being able to change print settings at the MFP? Like whether you want to, print double sided or, color?
So you can do it in the mobile app at the moment, right? So the
Right.
infrastructure is all there. It's
Right.
just a purely a prioritization thing because it's one thing to put it in one mobile app and have it work. It's another thing to do it across 9 different embedded brands.
Right.
So we took a shortcut basically and said, we prefer to get, or you asked us, we prefer to get single sign-on in first and get pretty reliable. We prefer to have quotas and shared accounts. We prefer to have reports over modifying attributes. So this, the research that we did, everyone said, yes, please. Right. So you could show partners that you can do it with the mobile. You can do it in there. PaperCut knows how to do it. They just decided not to prioritize it at the moment. Right. And it's a deliberate thing. But if we've got that priority wrong, then you guys want to wait a little bit longer for quotas and shared accounts, let us know.
No.
There you go.
When you said that, you meant with Chris.
So can I kind of share what we talked about first thing this morning about the difference between Hive and MF and sales strategies and stuff? Is that okay? Looking at you. Bless it. Yeah. So one of the things like Randy said, so to that we did an install at a customer that was a law firm, and of course they're going to want to share it accounting. So why? Not saying none of you, if any of you had anything to do with it, but like dealer expectation, I think why would we go to a law firm and say, hey, buy Hive, but it doesn't do accounting? Or something like that. There's always a migration path. We talk about that, right? That's one thing we always talk about. But he made it a point today, and Seth said the same thing. How PaperCut has always been a Swiss Army knife. I always said it was like the icing on the cake. You could do whatever you wanted to with your print network. We just lay right on top. I always said we were like speak to them. Just lay right here. Your printing network is your printing network. But it's different with Hive. Hive's not like that. They have to kind of change their infrastructure, the way they're doing things, if they're going to use Hive. And I really didn't think about it until you guys were saying it today. And he was talking about some of the success they're having outside of the US and how they're doing it. Is they're not just going in and saying, okay, we're going to stick Hive in here and we're going to try to make Hive do everything that we want it to do because we're used to doing that. Right? That's not, I mean, I think we should really kind of focus our strategy a little different and be able to have our dealers set the expectation level. And you just can't drop Hive in. And it works in every situation.
I had a install a couple of weeks ago.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had an install a couple of weeks ago, and they were they were moving from MF to Hive, but they didn't realize that Hive was not a one-to-one with MF.
Yeah.
They thought that MF and Hive were one-to-ones, and they were switching products. And I'm like, so You guys might want to think about this.
We need to get it across. We need to understand that products are on life cycle curves, right? And MF is on the top of its curve. It's a mature product. It's fully there. It's like electric cars, right? You know, the electric car out there, you know, it's a new tech, but it's not for everyone. Okay, they now got lightning pickup. It's huge. You know, so the technology started to mature, but it's not for everyone. You know, range is a problem. You've got to have chargers, but if you understand those requirements, you might know it's a really great thing. But if you just naively think the car's a car, you're going to have problems, right? And so PaperCut NS is the Swiss Army knife. That you can put it in there, and you'll be able to make it work in the environment. With an early stage product, it's different. You've got to spend the time. If you sell on features, you're always going to lose every time. People cars got bigger range. They've got, you know, service centres. It's far more options. You've got to spend the time to understand that customer requirement. And really, what I used to say was selling and in the early days in the higher education. Most of the selling actually occurred after sales. Like I would say 70% of my selling and my selling ability was applied post sales. It was, I had to convince Case Western Reserve to set their systems up the same as Harvard. Right, as Harvard was one of our early customers. Getting the deal was easy. Then I had to spend all the time, and I needed to get David Culling from Case Western Reserve to call Christine at Harvard so she could tell him how to set his network up. Because if they tried to set it up like they wanted to do it, they were just going to fail the project. So I had to selling it instant to set it up in a particular way because it wasn't mature. We didn't have all the knobs, all the settings, all the APIs, all the options. It's very specific. It's so early in its product life cycle. And we're going the same with Hive, is that we actually have to get the customer conform to the product. It's not starting on. And it's important that we understand that, our dealers understand that. Because if you treat it like a Swiss Army knife, we're going to have problems. So consider that concept, but really a lot of the selling actually starts after. Now that will change because the August release will drop and then we'll be dropping in shared count and you'll have an API for this, but it will eventually become more of that Swiss Army knife. But we need to have more of that entrepreneurial product lifecycle behaviour as we're going through that curve, which is fun, right? It's a different type of selling. One of the other big learnings that I had to do is top cloud reseller. They have seller M's. They're 70% an MSP. They started out in prep, they became an MSP, they acquired a security company, and they love Hive, right? They sell MF as well, but they love Hive. It's simpler. It's a light feature set. It's may not like the future. They want their teams trained up on it, but they said you can never sell Hive on features. Sell it on features you lose every time, right? You've got to sell it by understanding the customer benefits. And when you say lose, it lose their hand, right? It's sort of it's a product, right? Because it's you have to understand the customer intimately and know it's the right solution for them and articulate the benefits the cloud offers and in their particular use case. So it's a different selling strategy at the moment. But I would say in 3 years' time, we'll be at Swiss Army knife stage, but we've got a journey to get there.
I think you should make it more impressive for developers.
We already do. That's one thing in the middle. Like, if you just hear one thing and this is the other thing.
Hive's better than both.
Talk about entitlement server and things like that. And on the business side of things, that we've seen some of that. It's sort of like a team. I know you have a quote portal and things like that. We've seen, and I know we're probably more advancing some of that. I'm going to see as far as our teams on that. But I think we're not asking for anything yet. That's all. As far as after doing one of this title, we need to know what they're entitled to. Be able to give them a quote independently of your quote. We really don't want y'all to go to quote. Rather, there's some multiplication involved of like all the OEMs that we have to we're sheltering y'all from some of the complexity that they have handle and stuff. We'd love to be able to do that, but it's always been our challenge. Like right now, we have a mechanism to download every morning to be able to see what the current license is, what we have access to within And that we spoke about it, and you don't have that level with an hive and that's because of the changes in kind of, yeah, so that's super important to us going forward on the better side of things.
Yeah, so there is, in the next release, there's a couple of fixes coming. We're bringing in the brand usage UI into MF. So for perpetual customers who are using license files in version 24, you'll actually see what they're using versus what they've purchased, and it will be ready. If they're using the wrong brand, so bring that in. But we're also now sending that data, the brand usage data, back to our entitlement service. So it gets stored in the data warehouse. Our internal audit operations teams are now, they've got a longer term project to surface that into the audit report. So when you go look at a customer, you can say, this is what they're entitled to, this is what they're actually using. And you can see that any change and practically call them and say, hey, you're using the wrong things, or you could say, hey, you're not using print deploy, but you bought it, why aren't you using it? Let's take you through and activate that feature for you. So that's the long-term plan to surface all that information.
One,
Well, yeah, I think that they'll make those APIs available, so that would actually make that available to you at that point. That's another reason we want to get Hive on there as well, so we have the same data flow coming back and you can actually visualize everything for customers, regardless of what product, etc.
or we can understand a little bit better than we get into slight flexibility.
I just have one, so this is more of an appreciation. So recently, I remember last year when I asked about getting another resource on the East Coast because we had to wait 3 hours for the West Coast to wake up for get resources. But what's been helping, and if we can really make this happen, long as happen in the UK, those guys are great. And if we get them, and they've been answering a lot of tickets lately and stuff, we can continue to get that because they're real time with us, and maybe especially for East Coast, we can do that. Please foster that, however that is, because that's really great. But Jack Wallace.
Make sure I got some.
Yeah, Jack Wallace is awesome. So anyway, I just have to thank you for that, because that's fill the gap that wasn't there, but if they can continue to do that, would be very helpful.
So some of us have been in here an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes. Hadn't said a word. If that was me, I know I'd be drooling on myself a little bit. So does anybody else have anything they want to share, that a comment, praise, a question, concern, an ask? A dream. A dream. Hey, one, Luke, you've recently gone from a PSE doing implementations, right? Over to more of architecture, pre-sales, support on the East Coast. Anything you want to, highlight to the team that we have here versus internal and external in regards to the ask from customers or the perception from one side to the other?
Not really. It's more a lot of the features that are coming to NF. That's way with some of the requests that I asked. Because I've gotten at least 2 calls today. They were asking for features that were in an email that I got this morning about coming in. So the features that are being released are matching what we're getting requested. So
Welcome to pre-sales, Luke. No features. I swear to you,
One of the big changes in mindset we need to make and move to subscription, right? It's just like with, you've got Netflix, Paramount, and Disney, right? If the content's no good, you get sick of it, you change subscription. And this is what our mindset we need to develop in our as we move to SaaS subscription, even though we're in device, empty cycles on it, our mindset should be every day we've got to be the right for the customer, right? Keith, introduced this idea to all of us around. We're really going to look at that, especially that service. You guys are really keen about it. And I think that's a really good mindset to have. On the flip side of it, customers also, because they are making a decision around subscription, around that hardware, and it is software on a subscription, it's constantly changing. We need to get better at educating that customer that what they buy today is really not important, because it's a service that's constantly improving. We're always going to get better in our service, getting better in our software, we're adding features. So we've got to get good at some features. Right, it's like you see that a lot in the Netflix space, right? They've radically changed their funding, what's coming and things like that, because they realise that otherwise people switch, right? So they've got to show features as well. So I think we've got to get better. And so I'd encourage you to take the time to lean into the orchestrating, at least understand it, to be able to explain to your partners what's coming, because people will be making a decision on the service, and the service not the point in time.
See, that was that way.
Yeah, so it's awesome you guys are staying connected with what's happening. That's been areas, hearing on the things.
And we're doing this tomorrow too, so if you have questions that you didn't ask or you think of any overnight, tomorrow,
But there's a few I got another one. So Greg asked me to ask this. He's scared to ask this. He said, if PaperCut is your number one print management software, what would you say 2 and 3? What? Okay, when you go to bed, and you're like, I wish I could, just scoot them aside, not hear their name. It's got to be toxic. I mean, you honestly, no offense, but I don't know.
So
if you said printer on like 6 times.
Yeah, so number 1 would be PaperCut again. Number 2. And number 3 would be PaperCut.
Now in the politics.
So the competitive landscape.
Competitive landscape, yeah. Like, I mean, remember back in the day, I used to tell you printer logic is where it's out. What's this? Serious.
To be honest, I personally don't spend a lot of time on the competitors, because I think we get so much input from our customers and our partners. We don't need to look to competitors for ideas, right? Because our customers know what sense. I think if I put a future hat on, it's funny, I would see that printings might be a strong player, but they've been acquired, and I just would see how that screws companies. I would have to say, I think Whitesoft is pretty hungry.
Those were the ones with the growth on the chart mostly, right?
Yeah.
That's how.
But Pritchix,
that aligns with what
Pritchix and Whitesoft, I think, which is strong players, and yeah. So,
Hey, real quick,
They never beat.
Eric Olson had a question, I believe, right? It's not on our screen, so.
I think it's cut off.
So he's the solutions architect on the West Coast. So there he is.
Yeah. What's going on,
Hey.
everybody? Hey, yeah, thanks for doing this. This is awesome. I've been listening in, doing work, and it's been great. So I have a couple things to talk about. First thing is that I want to thank you guys so much for all the communication that you've been giving us. The ASC one is really, really great, but we as SAs also have Christy and Noah and Jim and Tyler. All those guys meet with us bi-weekly, and we talk about what's coming out and what time frame that might be. And we can ask them, we have questions, or we have problems out in the field where we're kind of hearing this thing. So I really want to just first say thank you for that, because that communication really helps. Expanding on that, is it possible to get maybe a section in the partner portal where we know the features, kind of like a percolator, the Hive features that are coming out, but then you can have maybe comments under there that say, hey, just letting everybody know you may have missed it. This is not coming out in the first part of September. We had to push it back because of this. We like to share things as they get closer. We're not back to MF stage where we're telling everybody we're gonna guarantee you're gonna have it by this time. But is it possible to maybe, and it could be a rhetorical question, just a comment, to kind of keep everybody under surveillance, to basically say, these are the things we're working on. This one's going to be pushed back, just letting everybody know. We said we tried to get it there, but we can't now. Thoughts?
Anything's possible.
I think Gary, we try to do that with at least at the drop-ins every month. at least to show what's changed in the roadmap and showing the old roadmap and then anything that's changed. We'll continue to do that moving forward. Yeah, it is. We just the challenge of putting it in a partner portal is we have to make sure that somebody owns it and updates it, otherwise it gets out of hand really quickly. So we're going to drop it. We've got a sort of a hard deadline we have to get it done by, so we should be conscious of making sure we're calling out any changes to timeframe before we do that.
Yeah, and add to that, Eric, the partner portal is going to change. It's being updated. It's going to get richer with content and information. For example, the partner marketing team are going to put all the newsletters in their historical newsletters. So if you've missed anything, you can easily find it. Go back and search through it. And with the August release, you'll see a lot of changes in terms of how we communicate what's in the release, why it's important, and we'll see different assets for you to share with your partners as well. And so, yeah, it's a journey we're heading on. It will incrementally improve, but it's great to hear your feedback on what you think would be important.
Okay, cool. So I'll continue to kind of be the, as SA teams, we'll kind of throw together our document and we'll keep it up to date as much as we can. So totally fine, acceptable answer. Just threw that out there. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's wrap it up. Yeah, let's wrap it up. You guys, you okay with that? Hey, Eric, before you get off, I want to give you guys just the credit of coming up here and never being afraid. If you don't have anything to hide, if you're not questioning a product and you're confident in your team and where it's going, you're going to put yourself out here. And they never back down from that. Not only Chris has done it for a long time with us, but the people that he's hiring are coming on and they know what they're doing. They've got a plan. They're working together. They're working with us. They're taking our feedback. Now they might not want to document it on the website, Eric, to your point of how many delays they have, but they can stand up here and talk it. And so we appreciate that because I feel like our team is the same way. That we think everybody here has a story we put up in front of any customer at any time for the most part. And
about the session bar, we do the other way around. We ask questions.
Well, we didn't get to that. But guys, I want you guys to hear this, that, and we've heard it, but there's gotta be something we're missing because I feel like we have the best resellers in the world, best OEMs in the world, and the best team in the world in regards to just the ecosystem. And the Americas fall back on Hive. Like we're behind Hive compared to Europe. Don't know why. Now, maybe because we sell more MF, but there's got to be a way to figure out to exceed or accelerate both sales, MF and Hive. There's got to be a way. And I think they may have some ideas, and especially an old channel guy may have some ideas. And maybe it makes sense, maybe it doesn't, but we ought to vet it out more.